Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning, Texas. Good morning, United States of America. Good morning, the world. How is everybody doing this morning? I trust everyone's doing just fine. Well, in the house, we have Jack Van Beber, who's at the controls, pushing all the buttons, making sure everything works. And of course, Howard at the tower today. Hey, Jack, good morning. How are you doing this morning, sir?
I'm doing pretty good, Egberto.
You know, I heard you're at the helm. You're the one out there making things happen right now.
Yeah, we had a little difficulty with the internet. We got some solutions to it, hopefully in the future. But yeah, we had to kickstart it this morning. The cans and string are working though right now.
It's working right now. Well, great to have you. Do you have a word today, or are you too busy with all these controls at the helm?
No, hold on a minute. Let me pull it up.
No problem. Well, as you pull it up, you just chime right in, and I'll be here waiting to hear the good word.
Let's go for this one right here. If I can, come on now.
Well, it's gonna come. It's gonna come.
Well, everything else seems to want to pull down. But okay, here it is. If you want to lift yourself up, lift someone else up. That was by Booker T. Washington.
You know, I love that. You know, I mean, there are a lot of proverbs and different from different scholars, from different people that come out and point that very important thing. You know, the more you give, the better you feel. The more you give, the more you tend to receive, because it builds a karma around you. And folks, you know, it is just a good thing. And if we could teach that across the board, where people can see that giving is so much more rewarding than receiving, wow, that can be permutated into so many different things, Brother Jack. But anyway, thank you for being there. Thank you for all that you do, sir. All right, folks, title of the show today is the 46% Biden-Bernie tie, the Velshi on Big Pharma and communism, and Bernie on class warfare. I think I said something wrong. I said the Velshi on Big Pharma communism. So anyway, the 46-46 Biden, Bernie, not Biden, Bernie. It is Biden Trump. Whoa, I have a bad title. But anyway, I've got to fix that one. Hey, guys, whoever got the newsletter this morning, it's not the Biden-Bernie tie. It is the Biden-Trump tie. I write these things really late at night, so sometimes the mind isn't quite there. Anyhow, folks, it's also, you know, that tie is due to what I call democratic neglect. Democratic neglect. We'll go into that in a little bit. Ali Velshi dispels Big Pharma GOP communism myth, and Bernie goes there. He talks about class warfare. I think it's important. It's important. Anyway, folks, don't forget, this is a call-in show. You can give us a call at 713-526-5738, 713-526-5738. And, Jack will get you right on to the system. Good morning, Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain. You're here today right on time. Anyhow, likewise, folks, please remember there are many ways to tune in to us. You can go to 90.1 FM if you're in the Houston metropolitan area, just dial in it on the FM dials, 90.1 FM. Alternatively, if you're anywhere else in the world, you can download the TuneIn application from Android or Apple Store and search for KPFT and pull us up live streaming on your phone. You can also stream directly from our website, kpft.org, kpft.org. Click that listen button and you're with us. And don't forget, if you're already on the website and you have a little pocket change, don't forget you can support Politics Done Right via KPFT, or support KPFT via Politics Done Right by just going on that and clicking the donate button so that we can have less fundraisers on KPFT and more content, the content that you like. You can watch us as well and watch me in my bright yellow, orange, red workout shirt at facebook.com/KPFT Houston, facebook.com/KPFT Houston, or you can listen to us on YouTube at politicsdoneright.tv, politicsdoneright.tv. Don't forget our podcast, politicsdoneright.com/podcast, politicsdoneright.com/podcast. So as you see, there are various ways that you can reach us and send me an email as well. Tell me you like what you hear, you don't like what you hear, you want me to cover something. KPFT at politicsdoneright.com. KPFT at politicsdoneright.com. So we're not hiding from you, folks. We want to hear from you. 713-526-5738. Una vez más, 713-526-5738. One more time, 713-526-5738. Anyhow, I want to start the program with Ali Velshi. And the reason I want to start there is as follows. As you know, President Biden decided finally, that we will negotiate with the pharmaceutical companies so that we can get the best price for our drugs. Right now, they just give Medicare a price, and Medicare says, okay, and that is by law. Medicare does not have the right to negotiate. The drug companies made sure of that. But now Biden is saying that makes no sense. We're paying a lot more than Canada, than France, than Germany, than UK for the same exact medicine. In fact, it makes sense many times for people to go across the border in Canada, load up on drugs, come back to the United States and save thousands of dollars because, again, the drug companies see it fit to rip us off, right? And what is hurtful is the people who did not invest in the development of these drugs. We're Canada, UK, Germany, France, Switzerland, all these countries that buy from our big pharma companies. They didn't invest in many of the drugs that our NIH, National Institute of Health, our taxpayers, they donated all this money to universities. They donated all these monies to develop to companies to research, and then after patents were set, these private companies held on to the patents and build the bejesus out of us. If that isn't called, well, I tell you what, let me play Ali. We'll go ahead and take care of that. And then I'll come back for further commentary. And by then, I hope I hear from you. I hear whatever your thoughts are. How are your medicines? What is it costing you? Anyway, let's go ahead and listen to Brother Velshi. Ali Velshi. Right now, the president has decided that he's going to take 10 drugs and he's going to negotiate prices for those 10 drugs with the drug companies. And by God, the Republican politicians are calling that communism. In other words, the government negotiating for drugs is communism. In other words, the government is not saying you will charge this. They're not saying that. They're not saying we are going to manufacture the drug ourselves. They're not saying that. They're not saying we're shutting you down. They're not saying that. They just said we are going to negotiate the prices for those drugs just like the VA does, just like Canada does, just like any other country does. And for that, you call us a communist? I want you to listen to Ali Velshi because he breaks it down perfectly. Then we'll take it on the other side.
This week, the Biden administration announced the first 10 drugs that will be subject to price negotiations under a new provision included in the Inflation Reduction Act, President Biden's signature bill, you will recall, that was passed last year. Now, the list targets some of the most commonly used drugs that help treat conditions like diabetes, heart failure, chronic kidney disease, blood cancers, arthritis, Crohn's disease, as well as blood thinners that prevent strokes and blood clots. According to the Department of Health and Human Services, about 9 million Medicare beneficiaries used one or more of these 10 drugs in the past year and paid a total of $3.4 billion out of pocket for those medications. That's on top of the $50.5 billion that the government spends on these same drugs every year. The federal government is the largest buyer of prescription drugs in the United States. Now, theoretically, in a market system, that would mean that it should have some measure of influence over those drug prices, a power that has been specifically nullified by something called the non-interference clause. Back in 2003, when Congress and President George W. Bush passed the prescription drug benefit to Medicare, Republicans, no doubt at the behest of the powerful pharmaceutical lobby, added something called the non-interference clause, which prevented the government, which, as I said, is the single largest buyer of prescription drugs in the country, from negotiating drug prices directly with pharmaceutical companies. In some cases, that has resulted in Americans paying double or triple the same amount for the same exact drug as people in other developed nations pay, precisely because many other governments didn't give away their seat at the bargaining table like America did. Lower drug prices means lower premiums and lower out-of-pocket costs for those on Medicare, as well as less money out of taxpayers' pockets, including if you never used any of these drugs. This one change in federal policy is a big deal because it has the opportunity to fundamentally change prescription drug pricing in the United States to the benefit of millions of Americans. But it wouldn't seem that way if you were only paying attention to Republicans' reactions to it this week. Some Congress members, including Senator Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee, called the new policy, quote, a socialist price-setting program. Meanwhile, former United States Ambassador and presidential candidate Nikki Haley went as far as to call the entire Inflation Reduction Act, quote, a communist manifesto. So let's get one thing clear. This policy is less like communism and more like Costco. Like Costco, Medicare now has the ability to purchase products from a manufacturer and bargain down the price so that in turn it can offer those products to its members at lower prices. Drug manufacturers can opt in or opt out. And likewise, nothing prevents consumers from shopping elsewhere to buy the same or similar products at a lower cost or a higher cost. The free market doesn't mean that manufacturers can set whatever price they want. More choices mean that consumers have more buying power. That is actually what capitalism is. This is capitalism working as it should. Under communism, there would be no negotiation at all. There wouldn't be anyone for the government to negotiate with because under communism, private businesses would cease to exist. Communism is a political and economic ideology that promotes a society in which all property and wealth is communally owned. To live under communism is to relinquish every aspect of your life to the government. Goods and services are rationed out from food, housing, toilet paper, even electricity. Citizens are expected to devote their lives in service of the government and its ideology and to glorify the military and its leaders. There are few communist nations today because it is a failed and despised ideology, and rightly so. But calling politicians communist has become easier to dismiss in this political climate because it's become so normalized, particularly by the Republican presidential frontrunner, the failed former president, Donald Trump, who uses the terms socialist, Marxist, and communist freely and interchangeably. They're catch-all words that some Republicans have become much more comfortable using to signal that a certain political opponent or policy is bad, without having to actually explain why or how they're bad or what you do in their place. Nikki Haley's presidential team has taken this one to the next level. They've been targeting Democrats that they think are, quote, soft on China by posting a series of communist-style images complete with the hammer and sickle titled Comrades of the Week. The images are so far beyond the pale. People throughout this country have been punished, they've been imprisoned, and they have been killed for the mere suggestion or suspicion that they were a communist sympathizer. Nikki Haley, like everyone else, has the right to disagree with her fellow politicians and their policies, but not if she's going to use dangerous and fear-mongering rhetoric. Be honest. Debate the policies based on their merits Don't call people communists. Don't call things communist that aren't.
You know, and I can tell you, Ali Velshi is a true capitalist. He believes in good regulated capitalism. And, you know, when does regulated capitalism become something else? That's where I'm at. I am not at all. I mean, Ali Velshi is, you know, he's a part of the business community, etc. But he believes in honesty in capitalism, honesty in business. I am I'm to the left of that in this regards. Most of these drugs were developed by the people. We, the people, paid for those drugs at universities, and when they became viable, these confounded corporations went ahead and picked them up, got the patent, and started to develop and test, etc., etc., etc. They did little of the work, and in fact, most of their profits doesn't go back into research and development, but into marketing, executive pay, and dividends for their shareholders. So while I agree that this is not in any way communism, what I want as well isn't communism. I want the government as investors in making most of these products on the market to be able to dictate that you will not sucker us in paying all these high prices. And in fact, I think that the drug companies have so far earned the right to have all those patents relinquished right back to the government after they were the ones who's had the initial development of the drugs. And then what I think should be done is if the government wants, they can hire these big pharma companies to manufacture the drugs. And if they say, well, no, we're not interested, we build the factories and manufacture them ourselves. It's important because they don't, again, please tell me, what value do they add other than marketing, other than extending the price to ridiculous levels for others? I do not believe in our current healthcare systems. There are portions of our systems that do not, I repeat, do not belong at all in the profit domain. That is healthcare, energy, and some other social programs do not belong in the for-profit market. There's a lot of room for millions of other things that belong in the for-profit domain, just not healthcare, just not energy, and a few other things that I've spoken about before. And the reason I mentioned specifically healthcare and energy, when you look at healthcare, you don't get in a free market. The theory is as there's more competition by different entities to build stuff, right? The community at large, the people at large have free choice to go ahead and select from whom they're going to buy. And in the process of selecting from whom they're going to buy, they force the manufacturers, the business folks, to acquiesce to them. I am going to keep making prices better until you buy from me. So it naturally, the competition keeps prices down. However, in a monopoly, and a monopoly doesn't have to be something that is just pre-exists. Healthcare by design, it has some monopolistic instincts within it. If you break your leg, you're going to go to the closest hospitals. You can't shop around between here and Oregon or whatever for the best price. If I want to buy a wheel or I want to buy a pin or I want to buy a clip, I can check the internet for what's, a company in Oregon, a company in New York, a company in Michigan, and get the better price. And then these guys, because they want my business, will fight with the price and bring the price down. And in that regards, supply and demand will work. However, if you're in a car crash, you don't ask, and you're very ill, you don't say, I don't think I want the helicopter to take me to the Trauma One Center or anything like that. Your life is valuable. And whatever it costs to get you to the hospital, whatever it costs to get you well, is done. You don't get the free choice of saying, Is this doctor cheaper than that doctor? Where there is implicitly no expectation of real competition, you don't belong in a capitalist market. Now, if I build a computer or if I build certain things that I'm using for pleasure, that I'm using for some added value, then it makes sense that we are in this type of a supply-demand environment. But absent that, folks, you have to go to work. You have to drive to work. Why should you be at the whim, at the behest of a corporation who says, that person must buy this, so therefore I can charge whatever. And if you want to know if that is what they do, that's what they do. We never had a shortage of oil. No, don't believe that we ever had a shortage of oil. Venezuela is swimming on the largest pool of oil, yet it's undeveloped because we chose politically that we are not going to allow a country who call themselves socialists to develop that oil sector or rebuild that oil sector. We can say the same about Saudi Arabia, who said, hey, by the way, guys, because the price of oil is falling, we are going to hold back supply. In other words, we are going to create a false scarcity so that the price goes up. In other words, that's not market. That's not capitalism as it was supposedly designed by El Señor Smith, or described by El Señor Smith. No. So if we're honest, there are certain parts of our economy that simply do not belong in the profit domain. Anyway, let's go to línea número uno, line number one, with the one and only mayor of Politics Done Right, which is Johnny. Come on in, Johnny. How are you doing this morning?
AKA Mayor McCheese.
Yeah. Talk to me, brother.
So, my brother from another mother, I think you've already made the argument I was about to make. Ali Velshi, I would say, is being dishonest in a way, disingenuous. And the fact that he did not, at least not in your clip that you played, bring up the fact that we, the American people, are sovereign beings. And when it comes to resources, especially oil and other mineral resources, like in Alaska, it's not communism. When Sarah Palin, a Republican governor, oversees the distribution of checks every month, is it, or every quarter, to the citizens of Alaska, because the oil companies, individual oil company executives, they don't own people, they don't own the oil, they don't own the minerals, they don't own water. Nestle doesn't own water. We allow them to
stop you there because, Johnny, I want to stop you there for one reason, because you made an important point that Americans need to understand. Let me remind people, for many don't know this. If you take a look at Alaska, when they built the pipeline, right, the oil that goes through that pipeline and other resources belong to Alaskans. In other words, Alaska has realized that the oil belonged to the people, not individuals, but to the people. And you said every quarter, I thought it was every year, but it doesn't matter. That oil, the revenue from that oil, the royalties from that oil is paid to every Alaskan either every month or every year. I don't quite recall, but that oil belongs to the Alaskan people. Contrast that with the mainland. The oil that's discovered on public lands, that oil should pretty much the same thing that is happening in Alaska should happen to all the people in the country, because when you drill on public land and you have minerals, the profits from all that minerals after expenses rightfully should belong to the people of America. The land belongs to the people of America. Again, these are public lands. Now, I have an issue with private land as well, but that opens another can of worms I'm not going to discuss right now. Anyway, continue, Johnny, but it's important for people to understand. In Alaska, a state controlled by Republicans, every Alaskan get a check from the profits of the oil in Alaska. on public lands. We have public lands in the United States that drillers drill and get oil. The American people don't get a check from that oil like the Alaskan people do. All right? The Alaskans, that state of Alaska, they get paid for their oil. Americans on the south of Alaska on public lands do not get paid for that oil. Continue, my dear brother Johnny.
The mindset that rules the people that are mercenary, unfettered capitalists. These guys, whether they on the oil industry or they're Nestle and they take water that doesn't belong to them and put it in plastic bottles that degrade, or whether they operate hospital chains that deliver health care for a profit. The mindset of all these individuals is that everything has to be privatized and profitized. Look at what they're doing to the United States postal system.
Right.
There's a fantastic documentary playing right now on our media ally sister, Free Speech TV. And if you watch that, you will be angry. If you're not angry already, you will be.
Let me stop you there, because a lot of people don't understand that either. And Johnny, you're bringing up some great topics. We're going to go a little bit away from pharma folks to address what Johnny just brought in, which is very important. The postal system is really one of the most efficient portions of our government. It's a quasi-government because it's an agency of the United States government. It's one of the most efficient way of delivering mail and packages. Now, in order to make it seem less efficient from a monetary standpoint, what your Congress did as a favor to UPS, as a favor to FedEx and all these other carriers is, unlike any private company, they forced them to pay ahead. I think it was 75 years or 100 years in the future for the retirement of their employees. And the Postal Service have 300,000 employees. So it gave the impression, because they had to populate this fund over a certain amount of years, this retirement fund over a certain amount of years, it gave the false impression that the Postal Service was not profitable. In fact, it is profitable. In fact, it is much more efficient than UPS, much more efficient than FedEx. And in fact, FedEx and UPS uses the postal services for places they don't find sufficiently efficient to deliver their packages and mail. But what does again, remember, for just over 50 cents, you can deliver a piece of mail, first-class mail, to any part of this country, including Hawaii and Alaska, which are distant places from us. The Postal Service will do that for you for 50-something cents. You can't even send something across the city with FedEx in a letter form for under $5. But that is what the idea. The idea is they want to cripple. They can't get rid of the Postal Service because it's decreed within the Constitution, but they want to weaken it, likely so that eventually a lot of the services of the Postal Service will be relegated towards the private shipping companies, which cannot deliver packages at the price the United States Postal Service can. So people, whenever you hear the attacks, whenever you go into a postal service and you and you get mad because the person wasn't as kind at the storefront and you want to attack the Postal Service, remember the discount you're getting when you use the Postal Service versus any of the carriers, which cost you far much more. And again, this is the private sector using you simply as a cost center, these particular shipping companies. Go ahead, Johnny. I just wanted to make sure we got that entire story out. Continue, my brother.
Well, there's a lot more to that story, but not to take up too much time. Briefly, in the dead of night, literally, like at 11 o'clock at night or 12 midnight, the Republicans back in 2006 in November or December of that year, they put the final nail in the coffin, if you will, the financial nail, with the Florida senator, what's his face, whose name escapes me right now.
Yeah, Scott. No, it wasn't Scott. Though. Go ahead. I said Scott, but I don't think it was Scott then. Go ahead.
No, not Scott, the other one, the dark-haired one.
Yeah.
The one, the traitor to his Latina people.
Right.
With the help of certain conservative Democrats, they finally put this rider in that they thought no one would see, and no one did see apparently, making it legal, a requirement for the United States Postal Service to fork over, was it $5 million or $5 billion in a row to supposedly finance the health retirement benefit.
That is what I said in the beginning. That's what I was saying in the beginning, Johnny.
Yeah, the health retirement, not retirement, but the health care benefit. Employees not even yet born for another 75 years. These Republicans, they don't care about that. They've got a big pool of money sitting in the bank right now, and they're salivating at the point of getting that. They've already sold off a bunch of post office buildings, by the way. And before this happened, in 2006 under Bush, decade or two early to that, they removed the status of the United States Postal Service from a cabinet level position, basically forcing it to become a private business. The Republicans said, "Oh, it's a business. Don't you forget. Don't be fooled. Everything is a business." No, it's not. The United States Postal Service is a service. We fund it either at a loss or at a gain. And by the way, they were so efficient that they were poised to turn their fleet totally over to electric vehicles. Not last year or the year before, decades ago. And when the oil companies found out about it, they said, no way, Jose.
Too big an agency, yeah. But Johnny, I need to run to tag, but I want to mark those that are listening to hear, and thank you for bringing those subjects up, because these are the things that aren't getting covered on standard media in any extended way that needs to be. So you triggering us to discuss this is very important. Give me a quick closer before I jump over. Go to tag.
I'm very triggered right now. One last piece that I want to tie in the ridiculous waiting period for drug negotiation prices. Remember yesterday I had a brain
right. You did say it.
Yeah, about 16 months from now, it'll be when we have the next presidential inauguration, and then we're going to wait another year. And you know, in that time, what you're doing is it's a delay tactic, just like Donald Trump delay tactics. That's what they do. And they're going to hope that people forget about it. And then when you least expect it, they'll just file some kind of illegal lawsuit against whoever's the administration.
Right. Okay, Johnny, you're correct. And by the way, a lawsuit has already been filed. So, So anyway, thank you, Johnny, the mayor of Politics Done Right. We'll talk mañana. Let's go ahead and go to Brother Tag.
Morning, Alberto.
Good morning, sir. How are you doing?
Good. Quick word about this. What got me going is Nikki Haley's comment about, communism and the government controlling the means of production, and how socialism is, Our business, especially the prescription drug companies, are on socialism. They're socialist companies because they are. Depend on the government to make their profits.
Yes, they do.
And the government just goes along with it. Well, here's the thing that gets me is that without government funding, these companies wouldn't be near as profitable, and so they would have to work a lot harder to be able to make their money. And an example of that is that when they get their patents and whatever from these colleges, our colleges are going broke because the colleges don't get the benefits of those discoveries that they make.
Exactly.
So all around, our businesses, especially the drug companies, are using the American public. It's just a terrible situation.
But we have to, the reason why this can occur, Tag, I want to interrupt you for this. The reason why this can occur, Tag, is because most Americans don't know that, so they can believe the propaganda that's coming from the plutocrats, from the corporatists. They believe the propaganda. I mean, I have Eric Hayes on welcome Eric Hayes to Politics Done Right. He makes a statement: framers wanted limited government. I want to say one thing. So what if the framers wanted limited government? So what if the framers wanted limited government? The framers are dead. Suppose most Americans now want a more involved government that makes sense. You know, I'm tired of hearing people's, well, these guys back in 1776, they wanted limited government. So what? They're not living now. The American people are living now. The needs of the American people have changed over the last 300 years. So I don't ever want anybody to think again about the framers wanted X, Y, or Z. I want you to start thinking about Americans wanting X, Y, or Z. I want you to start thinking about living Americans wanted X, Y, and Z. We have all this colloquialism, my brothers and sisters, that they put in our heads that somehow we worship the founders as opposed to just accepting the good of what the founders have done and the great of what we can do. The founders did a good thing in forming this country after they did a whole lot of bad things in founding this country. They created laws that were able to be improved, which we as American people have done. The founders are not deity. The founders are not God. The people, we the people of the United States, determine what we the people want. Tag, give me a closer before I jump to Gonzalo.
Yeah, a limited government would be one that would stop coddling the drug companies.
Thank you.
And the other thing is, and I think this is very important, is that we have to look at the economic sense going forward of American public financing all these things for the drug companies. I mean, it isn't just the past drugs, it's what's going to happen in the future. There are a lot of great things in the pipeline coming, but if the government and the American people are going to pay for it, it's not to our benefit because the drug companies are taking advantage of it.
And as Bernie, Tag, sorry to interrupt you. I got to go to Gonzalo, but no, hold on a second. I want you to listen to this because as Bernie pointed out, all the new drugs that are coming out, as half of the new drugs coming out, as Bernie pointed out, costs over $200,000 per year to use. Is that something we can afford? No. Does it really cost $200,000? No. Who developed them? Most of the times we were the starters to the development. Thank you very much, Tag. Let's go to Gonzalo. Eric says, framers wrote the Constitution a certain way. It's the freaking government and quit coddling the freaking colleges, make them responsible. No. And again, like I stated, Eric Hayes. So what if the framers wrote the Constitution a certain way? The framers are dead. Americans are alive. The wants and needs of Americans are there. We are not here to serve the wishes and whims of dead men. We are here to serve the whims and wishes of the American people. When we start to accept that, and when we start to believe in ourselves, and when we start to honor ourselves, we will make progress instead of deifying other human beings that aren't deserving of said deification. Gonzalo, come on in.
Yes, good morning, Egberto.
Buenos días, hermano mío. ¿Cómo estás?
Oh, muy bien. Can you hear me now? Because I
perfectly, sir. Yeah, you're coming in perfect, sir.
So, first of all, thank you for the podcast you share with us. I think in a nutshell is what's going on in today's society. Let me just bring a distinction between what socialism, communism, and totalitarianism is. So there is a big difference. So totalitarianism, what is in Venezuela now, what is going on in Cuba now, I don't know about China, I don't know about Russia, probably it's kind of the same, but it's true. You know, they just play with the citizen, and it's the stake and the carrot policy. If you behave, I'll give you food. If not, you will die. And we will give you health as a modern way of slavery because we need you alive. Okay? That's my opinion. Second thing about the three pillars of our society and any society: education, postal services, and health. I would put them in three different numbers according to priority. Health comes first. I have talked about the Canadian system as a model with its pros and cons. I think it's hard to get to those standards here because of private companies own most of the health system, and I don't think the government is capable to change that. About education, and that's something that I learned yesterday about HISD. I'm going to confirm that with a friend, a fellow teacher, but they are trying to do that. So they're going to become certain teachers contractors. So as Walmart or Amazon, that's what is coming up. So heads up with that. I'm not sure, but I will find out and I'll share with you. And postal services. I think every company, whether private or public, needs competition. I think it's what brings capitalism alive. And in the podcast, it's clearly explained. So capitalism needs competitors, whether from the public or private sector. And that's all I want to say today.
Gonzalo, first of all, thank you for that enlightened commentary. And I agree with you on Cuba and on what Cuba and Venezuela has become. I cannot dispute that at all. Now, the part that I always dispute with both Ali Velshi and others as well is when they don't make the distinction between capitalism and free enterprise. I believe 100% in free enterprise, and I believe in a strong social safety net. Capitalism is an indirection, in my humble opinion. Well, actually, it's a fact, really. It's an indirection. And let me explain this to folks that are listening. And then, Ted, I'm coming to you after. When I talk about capitalism being an indirection, capital is a word in capitalism, which is what matters, capital. So everything is capitalized. You have a company that is broke up into pieces of capital, and those pieces of capital are sold. As those pieces of capital are sold to different entities, the people who own capital, the people far disassociated from the work that actually done. When Exxon has a whole lot of stocks that a lot of people that have nothing to do with oil buy and sell, it disassociates them from the actual work of doing oil, which means they don't care about all the intricacies of people getting hurt in the oil field. They don't care about the intricacies of pollution, etc. They are disassociated from it. They just see capital as being the entity. That type of a business model, in my humble opinion, is the reason that the world is in the state that it's in. Free enterprise is completely different. You have the freedom to create and all these things that you want to do, but then you are regulated to make sure you can do no harm. There's a big difference. And what happens in my humble opinion in schools is we do a poor job because we are indoctrinated from our birth that somehow we must call ourselves capitalists instead of free enterprisers. It really distorts what simply making capital as the center of your country, what it actually does to your country. In other words, what it means. Capital over humanity. A slave was capital. That's why it lasted so long. The employee is a cog within capitalism. That's why they have so little value. If we change to free enterprise, it would mean something completely different than the way we're running right now. But anyway, Gonzalo, thank you so kindly for bringing that up and giving me the opportunity to expand on that, sir.
Okay, last but not least, I like your comments about Alaska. I think that's a very good way to share the wealth and the resources. And why don't we become a country like the ones in Europe? Do they have
Norway?
Social Norway. Well, yeah.
Norway has the North Sea oil that is very well distributed. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, and they have good health services and good education. We can, yes, with the power we have, with the resources, what we need is just different type of management.
Exactly. But here's the thing, Gonzalo, and Ted, I'm coming to you next. Here's the thing, Gonzalo. Americans have to be educated to the way things really work. And right now, our oligarchy, our plutocracy, our corporatists, they are ensuring they want to keep us dumb. That's their goal, because if we're dumb, they can use all these words. Hey, he's a socialist, he's a communist, he's a this. And then you sit down and you hold back. Oh, I can't say that or whatever because I don't quite understand. So programs like what we want to do here at Politics Done Right and many other programs doing this sort of thing is we have the corporate media is not going to do it because they're not allowed to. We can. And that's why we also ask people, hey, make sure and keep places like KPFT and other, blogs funded because we can do this. Hey, Gonzalo, muchas gracias por la llamada, hermano mío.
Okay, thank you. Have a blessed day.
You too, sir. All right, let's go to Ted. Come on in, Ted.
Hey, what's going on?
I'm doing fine, my brother. Talk to me. I'm here.
Yeah, listen, I just wanted to make a brief comment.
Yes.
One thing is about the Founding Fathers. Is that when they said limited government, they wanted limited government over your belief systems and your way of life, not so much over government services.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a real distortion. They wanted you, Europe at that time had gone through these horrible religious wars, where everybody was killing everybody because they weren't Catholic or they weren't Protestant or whatever. And of course, my God, really hurt to be Jewish. At any rate, so when they say limited government, they're saying limited government over your personal lives, over, who you have sex with and, what you eat and so on and so forth. So it's a distortion, one of the many that they heap upon us on, the media, which is so dedicated to the right wing.
No, Ted, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ted.
I think that's about my comment. I mean,
well, let me just tell you, Ted, I'm glad that you mentioned that. But like I mentioned earlier, and I want people to take heed to this. This is no disrespect to the founders of the country or anything like that. But again, I think we must be honest. The founders have no idea of the current issues that we have today. We must change to represent the issues and the problems we have today. And just simply saying the founders would not have wanted this or the founders didn't mean this I don't care. I just want to solve problems to help Americans. That's it. I don't care what the founders would have thought, what they would have believed or whatever, because if I sit down and worry too much, I'm a Black Latino, brother. If I sit down too much about what the founders thought or believed, as far as I'm concerned, they compromised the holy hell out of me. I was 3/5 of a person. So don't ask me to sit down and just keep saying, the founding fathers said this and the founding fathers said that. No, I care about all Americans. Every single American is my brother and sister. That is what we should be thinking. And I want what's good for every single one of our brothers and sisters in America. And by the way, that's not to discount what you said, which is absolutely correct.
I would argue that the structure they laid down was was really revolutionary, and it remains revolutionary. And so they didn't even live up to, and granted, they didn't live up to their own.
I won't discount that at all. I will not disagree with you at all. Like I said, the great thing about the Constitution, my brother, was that elastic clause. Having an elastic clause within your Constitution, which means we can change to make things better. You're absolutely right, sir. And that was in effect.
I would definitely like get rid of the Second Amendment or modify it.
Well, remember that was an amendment. But then again, for the Constitution to make sense, it needed a lot of amendments. And in fact, we're up to 28, going to on 28 right now. So that tells you its fungibility and its necessary fungibility. Thank you very much for calling in, Ted. You allowed us to get quite a bit smarter. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, brother. All right, let's go to Peter, and we're going to have to speed up a little bit now because we're coming close on time. Folks, by the way, I want you to realize that I didn't cover two of the subjects that I am supposed to cover. Please go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. The videos and the links for all of that is in the newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Come on in, Peter.
That's right. Chance to grow your brain, and happy hump day, Egberto, and so good to be with you and the Politics Done Right family.
Thank you, my brother.
With you guys today. It's great
Talk
to be here. And wow, I got two things. And so I understand that we're being called Marxists and all these things. It's horrible. And you're the speaker there, the clip you played. It's really dangerous, especially when people won't even pick up a book or Google search it because they think maybe the government will start watching them. But it's really dangerous, I'll be quite honest. And then us on our side, we call them back fascists, but they don't understand what that means. It's autocratic. It's one government control, which it's what they're doing. They're manipulating us and with their gerrymandering, and it's just terrible. But really what I'd love to talk about, Egberto, is how we can maybe reframe it. So maybe these right-wingers who are just really hate-filled, in my opinion, are just filled with hate. It's overflowing from them, and it spews like Nikki Haley. We hear it. It's disgusting, but really, we should just break it down. Like maybe they understand Limbaugh, so I'll just call them Limbaughtism. Like it's Limbaughtism because it's everything that should be right is now wrong. So it's just, and then I'll just call them a Limbaughtist. So they're Limbaughist. Everything that should be right is now wrong to them. So that's point number one. Let's just rebrand how we're speaking to them, because if we call them, when they call us names, let's just call them back but something that they understand. So hey, Limbaughist. And then maybe they'll get it, like a guy bloviating who just speaks, just tries to just annoy people, and that's what they are. They don't have anything to back up what they're saying.
Peter, I got to you got 30 seconds because I got to get to Derek. But come on in, my brother.
And that last thing, yeah. So thank you so much for talking about the Medicaid and allowing the government to negotiate those prices. I love that, and just imagine if we add cannabis into that equation, like how much that will help us heal. So people who are going through chemotherapy, you don't need chemotherapy. You just need radiation, and you need cannabis. So I wish that would, that's my prayer. Like I am
into legalization as well, sir. So thank you, Peter, for calling in, and thank you for always being a listener, my brother. You have a wonderful rest of your day, and I think you're a teacher, right?
That's right. I'm here, like my.
Well, look, I just wanted to say, I simply love the work that teachers are doing. So thank you for doing that. Anyhow, let's go to Derek. Derek, come on in. Derek, you're on.
Hey, good morning, Berto.
Good morning, sir.
I'm an educator as well, sir.
I appreciate you, sir.
Yes, sir. I like what you said about I'm not caring about what the founding fathers said, because the founding fathers never lived this reality. What I'm interested in is the truth and being fair with everybody, which America still to this very day have not been able to do. Unfortunately, you still got one side, you got the have and have not. And it still exists to this very day, even from the time of the
founding fathers.
The same thing, bro. I mean, you have land, those are landowners. And it is something that these laws still have a tendency to favor the wealthy from the non-wealthy, because if you really want America to really be equal, then let's share in the economic wealth, of which they still not doing, Alberto, because isn't it something that in the stock market, before you can afford to even get those, when you go into the IPOs, you
Right.
got to have it about $250,000.
Brother.
To get the stock for $1 or something per share.
Brother, let me tell you something. You know, you hit the nail on the head, both on the land owning issue and on being able to get into the capital, the initiation into the capital markets where you can really make a profit. People would say, well, you can always go to a discount broker. Why the hell do I need a discount broker in the first place? It's a pay to play system. And when you spoke about land, my wife and daughter have been watching a series called Yellowstone. Somebody who owns over 200,000 acres of land. And it's, you know, it's not at all different than the big ranch in South Texas of hundreds of thousands of acres of land. How the hell did you get all that land, you know, if you hadn't taken it from somebody else and then you make the profit on it? It's amazing, brother. Look, we're running out of time, Derek. So give me like a 15-second closer because I got to wrap this up.
Oh no, bro, you said it all, man. The thing is that if you're gonna be fair, then be fair across the board. But I think, Alberto, they're too far gone, and that's the reason why the system is crumbling right up under their feet.
I want to stop you right there, brother Derek. I want to stop you right there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not ever say the system is too far gone. We can create alliances among all of us to take this system back from those. Well, I should say not take it back, but you know, but it takes us realizing that we're all in the same pot together. We can't allow them to divide us.
That was my point, bro. Yeah,
Right.
I'm talking about the mindset of the people.
Yes.
Roberto, like I say, by one being here, living here as long as I have, man, I can still see, man, that the wealthy don't want to relinquish that power. So something drastic is going to have to happen.
Brother, we'll talk. I got to cut you here because I'm a hard stop. Please keep calling. Please keep listening. Please tell folks about Politics Done Right and KPFT. Thank you, my brother, Derek. All right, let me throw this reel back to the studio real quick to get some final words from Howard and Jack.
Well, I had to make a mad dash to the transmitter this morning, and thanks to T-Mobile, we are actually on the air this morning.
Man, you are a magic man.
I had to rush back to the house and get my T-Mobile box and put us on the radio.
Wow.
All right. This was my morning. Here's Jack.
Don't let government or business define what words mean. Social services and socialism are two different things.
Yeah.
Thank you so kindly, Jack. Folks, thank you to Jack. Thank you for Howard for your heroic effort today to make sure we were on air. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out! We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number 1, subscribe to our channel, and number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.